Well, good afternoon. Gosh, this is really exciting. Thank you so much for coming to the Smart Senior Series. Those of you that are regulars, our groupies, I like to call you groupies, our friends in education, thank you so much for coming today. Okay, so while we're waiting for this to be set up, I'd just like to take a quick minute here. Some of you we haven't seen for a while. We have two new additions to our team. Myself, I'm Ingrid Sullivan, for those of you that don't know me. I am a real estate agent and I'm a right-sizing expert. We have John Sullivan, who's here in the back, and actually, John, could you stand for just a quick minute? If you don't mind, and I don't mean to embarrass you with this, but maybe I do. John is my partner in life and my partner in business, and this is his second week out after having total knee replacement surgery. Oh, wow. So he's not been out anywhere, and we convinced him that we would love to see him here today. So thank you, John, for being with us. We also have John Pennington. He's having foot surgery, so he's out of it for a little bit. And then we have Beth McGee here in the back. Beth has been with us for a couple of different years, but now she's actually a part of our team. So we are super excited to have her join us, and she'll be participating in all levels of our business, from the real estate to the downsizing to the seminars. It's kind of warm in here, do you think? Yeah, we didn't change that. And then, of course, Debbie, who's on her way out the door, the battery person. Debbie's got everything set up for you. So those of you who don't know Debbie, she's the person that you register with. She puts out the invites for you. She creates our presentation. So she's a great person to have on our team. Our business model, again, just so that you kind of get the feel for who we are, we're real estate agents that primarily our business is working with individuals that are 55 and older. We work with all different age groups, but our focus has been on 55 and older because we need things like handyman contractors, little repairs that need to be done. We want to have those people for you. We have estate liquidators or estate professionals that we've worked with for several years. We've vetted all of these vendors so that when you ask for something like that, we feel comfortable that it's someone we'd have at our house that we would share with you. We have movers and packers, so if there's a move in your future, we've got people that can help you pack, can unpack you when you get there, and movers that can take you there as well. And then we also have a group of elder law attorneys that work with us, and we'll have them in just a moment here, and several different senior living partners that work with us. So this is the makeup of our business in addition to the Smart Senior Series.
Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Copeland. I'm from the University of North Texas Health Science Center. I work in the Center for Older Adults. I also am part of the team that is doing a brain health research project, and thus the invitation to talk about brain health and things that you can actively choose to do that can affect how your brain and cognition functions.
And I'm Holly Glover. I am with the James L. West Center for Dementia Care. I'm the Director of Education and Family Support Services. I'm a licensed professional counselor, a grief therapist, and a trauma therapist, and I run all of our support groups there. And I also go out and get to teach all over the United States. I get to go around to conferences and teach healthcare professionals and others all about things like dementia, end of life, grieving, all of those very hard subjects. That's me. I get to talk about a lot of the hard stuff. So we'll talk about some of that today.
Oh, went the wrong way. Oh, let me get the right button. Yeah. There we go. Again, as I said, I am a health coach. So you may be wondering, what does a health coach do? Many people think of a coach as someone with a clipboard and a whistle. That is not the kind of coach that I am. It's more like a coach that that you get in or travel along with so that you move from the place where you are to the place that you wanted to be. So again, I don't diagnose or prescribe. I really do companion and partner with each of the people that I have the pleasure of getting to work with while we work on goals that they set. Which, again, some of the dark things that Holly mentioned that we would be talking about. Cognitive function tying in with 12 dementia risk factors, the things that can accompany and can lead to or contribute to dementia. Holly?
One of the things I want us to also keep in mind, we use that term dementia and we can get, there is joy to be had in dementia. That's a whole lot of what I teach, is where do we find the joy in dementia? How do we meet someone who has dementia where they are and concentrate on what remains, not on what is lost? Please keep in mind, dementia is not a normal part of aging. Memory loss is not a normal part of aging, regardless of what commercials on TV might tell you. Slowing down, normal part of aging. Why did I come in this room? Normal part of aging. But actual memory loss, no. And there's over 100 different types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the most common, up to 80%. That's why you hear about that one the most.
When we're talking about dementia, there are modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. So we have one slide covering the non-modifiable, which would include age. Given the option of not aging to reduce your risk factor, most of us choose to age. And so that one's one we can't combat. Gender also plays a role in this, with 2/3 of those with Alzheimer's being women. Family history plays in, as does early education. And where at this point in my life, I can't do anything about what I did or did not receive as an early education, I can absolutely choose to continue learning and experiencing the world in new ways. There are additional risks for caregivers. Obviously, due to the time constraint, resource constraint, and just the demands of the duties that we take on when we become caregivers, taking care of yourself, taking care of the things that help your brain stay healthy are that much more paramount. Which leads us to a little bit more of a joyful slide. The modifiable risks, the modifiable lifestyle choices. It's now known that up to 40% of dementia cases could be prevented with the implementation of lifestyle factors. That's not to blame or shame anyone who develops cognitive function issues. It is to empower those of us along the way to make the choices that we can make that will make a difference in how both our body, our heart, and our mind continue to work for us. So what are the modifiable risk factors? They include how we eat, how we move, how we sleep, how we think. Believe it or not, thinking positively or negatively has an impact on your cognitive function. Doing cognitive stimulating exercises. This doesn't have to be a crossword or a jigsaw puzzle. This may be calculating your golf score or changing the way you drive to church so that you give yourself variety and continue to give that brain something to do, as well as working with general health issues, seeing your doctor in a timely manner, having the blood work that's asked of you so that you have an expert on your team to support continued cognitive function. And just a little side note, in case the screen is small, there is a 10 Ways to Love Your Brain handout provided in your packet. For the modifiable lifestyle choices, we want to increase healthy nutrition, physical activity, sleep, mental activity, that positive outlook, cognitive activity, and social activity. Social activity is at the bottom, but that does not mean that it is the least of the items mentioned on the screen. Believe it or not, they've done recent research showing that loneliness contributes to cognitive decline. So quality over quantity. If you have a good friend, utilize that good friendship and make friendships along the way, because that social connection, including coming here with like-minded people who are interested in something that you're interested in, all of that contributes. And here are the things we want to decrease to help with our brain health. Vision and hearing is on here. I'll let you read some of the other ones, but if you address hearing loss issues, many of us avoid it because there's some sort of stigma or ego or identity crisis that we have when we think about addressing hearing loss. Believe it or not, if you address your hearing, there is a 48% reduction in your risk of cognitive decline. How your brain functions is different. The areas that light up with normal hearing don't react the same way with a decline in hearing. Same thing with our vision. And if you think about that, that's all input for your brain. It makes sense. It's just, they just now have gotten the research really showing that addressing those items matter. Which leads us to the brain uses 20 to 30% of the calories you eat. So your nutrition matters. And where for myself personally, I might not decline a sugary, beautiful item so that my size jean stays the same. But some days when I think, do I really want to feed my brain this amount of sugar, I will make a little bit different choice. So sometimes it's just a matter of how we think about it. You know, I really am feeding my brain. Which leads us to actionable possibilities with the nutrition. Eat nutritionally dense food. What does that include? Vegetables, fruits, things that have colors, things that provide you with solid sources of protein. Eating and drinking. Drinking including water in how you hydrate yourself. And Holly?
One of the handouts that you have is on the MIND diet, M-I-N-D, MIND diet. This was actually created by some neurologists. It is a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, which is the diet that is for hypertension. It is the diet that is most recommended to take care of our mind. That's why they came up with the clever name, the MIND diet. And it's pretty easy to follow because it's pretty much 10 do's and 5's not so much. It does not say on there, don't ever do it. It says limit butter, cheese, red meat, sweets, and fried foods. Now, I know you heard red meat and we're in Texas and you probably just had a heart attack. I didn't say don't have it, I said limit, just limit it. Mind diet, and when we're talking about fruit, let's think about berries. Berries, rather than those really, really sweet oranges and grapes, there's a reason they're so sweet. But what if we focus on strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries? That's the ones we want to focus on.
And it's not talking about necessarily eating berries all day long. Really, it's a half a cup commitment a day. That's one of the mind goals that I personally have, because I keep them frozen in my freezer so they never grow mold. And I take them out and I can commit to half a cup of berries every day. And so sometimes it's blueberries, sometimes it's blackberries, sometimes it's strawberries. But that half a cup serving, think about it, it's dense fiber. Believe it or not, raspberries are one of the highest fiber per gram that there is, because we think about all those little seeds that we then have to floss, taking care of our oral health, another thing that we should do anyway. And also, if you're in situations where picking healthy food is really not an option, because you're at a banquet or a club meeting where what they're serving, you can always control the portion you have, so that if it's something that is not exceptionally nutritionally dense but heavily caloried, you can always eat just a portion of it instead. Again, moderation. Nothing's a no, no, no. Everything's just a piece of the puzzle. And moving to our next category, movement and exercise. I loved this graphic when I found it, and I love it still. This brain on the right, this brain on the left, sorry, is the brain after sitting quietly. And not that sitting quietly is bad, but look at the colors and look at the various areas firing up and not firing up. Where on this side, Believe it or not, this is what your brain looks like after a 20-minute walk outside. This isn't a power walk. This can be a saunter. This can be a metered walk. This is what it does to your brain. So again, movement doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to be regular. And in case you haven't caught on yet, enthusiastic validation for good life choices is part of what my job description holds. So here we go again. All movement counts. Whether that is parking here at the Botanical Gardens and making it into this room, those steps matter. Those steps count. There is also, they came up with a fantastic name for it. NEAT is the acronym. It means neat. And it is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which literally means any action you do, whether it's moving from the bed to the dining table, from the dining table to the sofa, from the sofa to the coffee pot. You get credit for all of that activity. And ideally, your activity includes aerobic, getting our heart rate up a little bit, increasing that oxygen-rich blood, strength and resistance so that we keep our muscle mass going our whole lives, so that supports the bottom one, which is balance and flexibility.
And I put some extra brains on your tables there. Ooh. Those are stress balls. What if I sit here and I just did this during the commercial? Look what I'm doing. I'm actually getting oxygenated blood up to my brain, and I'm sitting here watching a commercial, but I'm doing a little bit of movement. One of the things that I did with my mom after her diagnosis is I bought her one of those, it looks like a pedal, but you can set it on the tabletop. And I challenge her, again, between commercials, because we don't want to miss a show, but I challenge her because hers keeps how fast it goes and how many rounds she does just during commercials. She's moving. And when we're moving, oxygenated blood up to the brain.
And if you don't have the little exercise pedaler, you really can just extend your hands. If everybody wants to play along, this is safe for all conditions. We have our stop hands, and we have our go hands, and we have our stop hands, and we have our go hands, and we have our stop hands, and we have our go hands. Now we have our pointers. 1, 2, 3. Middle, 1, 2, 3. Ring, 1, 2, 3. And pinky, 1, 2, 3. Reverse it. Pinky, 1, 2, 3. Ring, 1, 2, 3. Middle, 1, 2, 3. And pointer, 1, 2, 3. And for the piece de resistance, we wrap our thumbs up and we give us some circles. Yep.
Oh, your brains are lighting up.
Your brains are lighting up.
I can see them.
And you may have even had a wee bit of fun. And since vocabulary is also a good cognitive function, I threw a little fancy word that you may have seen on a report at the doctor, sarcopenia. It is our muscle loss that happens just as we age. Again, we don't want to stop aging. We want to keep clicking along. But knowing that we lose muscle mass as we age makes little things like circling cans of beans, your purse, some of you, switching arms, keeping that muscle, because they have found an association between muscle strength, including like grip strength, and cognitive function. So healthy, strong body, healthy, strong mind. We have a super active screen here because sleep is super important, 1. And 2, this brilliant brain neuroscientist who specializes in sleep says the sleeping brain is exceptionally active. We think of ourselves as resting, and the body is resting. But while we're asleep, our brain, different parts of our brain turn on and different parts of our brain turn off, so that all the jobs that your brain was so magnificently built to do have time to happen. So if you skip sleep, you don't give, I'm a layperson, not a doctor, so your file clerks don't have a chance to come out and do all of your filing, and your cleaning team doesn't have a chance to come out and do all the cleaning that is necessary. Sleep seems like a resting entity. It is not. It is one of your brain's most active times. So that value is immense as far as what you can do, that you have to change nothing else in your life except making that sleep a bigger priority can make on cognitive function. Again, leading us to actionable steps.
You may have heard you only use 10% of your brain. False. There's another false one. You heard that on some commercial somewhere. I've got to go over here. I'm a walker, and I don't want to be stepping in front of you. I'm sorry. You use 100% of your brain. You use 100% of your brain. A lot of it's at nighttime when we're sleeping. There are things that are happening. You heard me say earlier that I'm a therapist. I'm a counselor. Do you know when you process emotions? When you sleep. That's why when we say sometimes, I'm going to sleep on it, and you wake up and you have an answer, she mentioned the files. It went from this file to that file. It went and it stored where it needed to store. Emotions, trauma. We just all went through something called a collective trauma. It was called a pandemic. It happened about 4 years ago. We had to process that. Some of us are still processing it. We do it when we sleep. We also mentioned cerebrospinal fluid washes over the brain when we sleep. That is important because it washes away toxins. So sleep's very important.
And the tip of the day would be get an extra 20 minutes, whether that means going to bed 20 minutes early, getting up 20 minutes later, or even taking a 20-minute nap. The sleep research does show that either a 20-minute nap or a 90-minute nap are the two healthiest options if you are a napper, because the 90 minutes gives a full sleep cycle, and the 20 minutes is enough to refresh without falling into the place where it's difficult to get up. Because you know, when you lay down a little too long and you're groggy instead of refreshed, there would be the reason why. Leading us to our next one with our big son, mindfulness and outlook. Again, that opportunity for a rethink on a negative thought and turning it into a positive thought or a possibility. Things that actually contribute to having a little bit easier time with having a better outlook. I'm beating the same drum. Sleep is very important. Exercise, connecting socially, eating healthfully, doing some practices that help. One being a gratitude journal. Another is being a resource journal, so that like today for my resource journaling, I could write, I got a parking spot that didn't have a puddle beside it, so that I got to schlep in my paperwork that you can pick up there on the corner. I had a lovely opportunity to come here. Another resource I get to list on mine, and everyone I've met has been very positive and out and happy to meet me. So this, or at least that's my perception. So leading us down to labeling our emotions, reappraising, reframing, rethinking, and being in the moment.
In counseling and therapy, we have something called, if you can name it, you can tame it. If you can name it, you can tame it. That's labeling your emotions, but you've got to be able to say out loud, write it, what is this I'm feeling? When we are caregivers of somebody with dementia, believe it or not, from the very, very beginning, before we even get the diagnosis, when we're just starting to think, could it be grief? It's grief. Because grief doesn't mean death, grief means loss. Grief is loss. And so we start to grieve what could have been, what's going to be. It's called ambiguous grief. We're grieving the loss of the living the way our relationship was. But we've got to be able to say it so that we can start to get on top of it and go through it. Also, reframing. I tell the caregivers all the time, I run the support groups. Just yesterday on a group we were saying, we're not going to say, I have to take care of so-and-so. I get to take care of my dad. I am blessed that I get to take care of my mom. Are some days better than others? You better believe it. But I also have some beautiful times with her, and I'm the one getting to do it. Reframe.
Leading us to another topic, which is stress. And where we all think we're doing just fine, and stress is not a big deal, stress shrinks brain networks. And we want bushy, wrinkly, the one place we want wrinkles, everyone, we want wrinkly, bushy brains. So, chronic stress has neurotoxic effects. One of the tools that Holly had just named, that naming the emotion, it seems like that's going to swallow us, but instead it puts us out here in the light so that we can say, this is stressing me out, or this is making me sad. Again, actionable steps, clanging my drum again, sleep, exercise, connecting socially, eating healthfully, especially watching your sugar and processed foods, as well as there's some emerging research showing that being dehydrated contributes to low mood. Learning and practicing relaxation strategies. Now, what is she talking about now? That can be as simple as taking a pause and giving yourself a breath. I mean, truly an audible sigh, which if everyone is brave enough to join me, we'll take an inhale through our nose. Notice how everyone's shoulders sort of settled in. Remembering that our vocal cords run along beside our vagus nerve, so that just that making that noise actually helps let your body know we're okay. At least in this moment, we're okay. So there's working with our breath is one thing. The progressive muscle relaxation. Now, one of the wonderful things with the internet is you truly can find a YouTube video on just about everything, including at the University of North Texas Science Center. You can go on their website. They have a relaxation room where they have some videos and some talk-through meditations that are absolutely free and accessible. There are many resources, as I said, online. Was there anything? There was an asterisk. Did you have anything on this one?
Not on that one.
Okay. Which leads us to our mindfulness and outlook. Again, this wonderful picture here on the right, that is the vagus nerve. And if you notice how huge it is, running from the brain all the way down, you may or may not have heard the term rest and digest, but it does require some relaxation for our digestion to work properly. Just like the sleep digests our emotions and helps us function better the next day, allowing the body to relax allows the digestive system to kick in, because while we're not relaxed, energy is pulled away from your digestive system for your mind to be clearer, for you to run from the proverbial tiger. And so just taking that moment to breathe, even if it's something as simple as thinking, as I'm inhaling, and as I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling. Because the main thing that does is get you present in the present moment. So whatever bad things or good things are happening are still happening, but you get the choice to take a breath.
The other thing with a single breath can be the difference between a reaction and a response. Now listen to that again. A single breath can be the difference between a reaction and a response. We want to respond, not react. This is in every case. Even if I'm standing in line at the Walmart and I'm getting mad. Okay. I'm going to take that breath. But especially if we're caregivers of somebody with dementia, and we've said it 3 or 4, 5, 6, 20 times, because that person who has dementia is doing the best they can. They're not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. I can control me. I can't control them. And what if I just take that breath and maybe step outside a minute? Okay. And I'm going to make a response rather than a reaction. Easiest thing we can do.
Taking us to another section that we have some control over, which is social engagement. You may have heard that sitting is the new smoking, as far as how bad it is if we don't have movement. Well, the Surgeon General also added social isolation is as bad for us as smoking. Again, lots of that emerging research showing that feelings of loneliness and isolation impact how our brain functions. Going for quality over quantity when we're having our social engagements. Find some people you like and be around them. Find some people who are interested in some things that you're interested in and talk with them, or have something, a common meeting, so that you have a place to be where you have people to associate with. This is also a great place to embrace the electronic surge that is full of our world. You really can use it for good just as much as it's an invasion on our time. You can use it to connect, whether it is one of my patients has a grand Zoom every 8 weeks so that she connects with her grandchildren who are adults every 8 weeks. And so it's just a grand Zoom, and that's what they have. So there's that. There's also the video element or email, utilizing those things, as well as our local libraries, our senior centers, coming to things like this where you never know who you're going to meet or what interesting conversation you might get to have. Not to mention, you get a double bonus. You had to walk through beautiful nature to get here. Leading us to our mind challenge and our cognitive exercises. Again, that same rule that doesn't seem like somebody should have to say it again, but it's true for all of us. Do things you like to do. Pursue doing things you think you might be interested in, and read things that you're interested in. If you start a book and it is not for you, we no longer have to turn in book reports. We really do have the right to donate, give away, pass it up. Read the summary, read the review. That's a great thing about online. You no longer have to read a bad book. You can just read the review and be done with it. Leading us to, again, options to challenge the mind. The thing I wanted to point out here for my section is, for cognitive exercises, that can be whatever that means to you, whether that is doing Sudoku or doing crossword puzzles or Wordle or playing with jigsaw puzzles on a table. There is no specific recommended daily allowance. There are lots of people who are trying to sell computer-generated games, and it's not that they are bad, but they are not proven to be better than choices you can make on your own.
Now, if I went to the gym every single day and I went in there and I got a barbell and I sat there and did this all day long, what's going to happen? I'm going to have a great looking right arm. But what about the rest of me? So if we do the same type of cognitive puzzle all day, every day, you're lighting up the same area over and over and over. Because I'll have people say, but that Sudoku's hard. Right. Yes, it is. That's the point. We want to do something challenging. I'm not saying don't do the easy crosswords. Do it, because that feels good to finish it and go, yes, I finished a crossword. Doesn't matter if it's easy. But tomorrow I might do a medium. So we're going to do just a few brain games just really fast. I want you to tell me the answer fast, fast, fast. A bed of? A drop in the? A bolt from the? Blue was the answer I had. It could be anywhere. A knee-jerk?
Reaction.
A leopard cannot change its. All that glitters is not.
Gold.
Backseat.
Driver.
Better late than.
Never.
Bonnie Ann.
Clyde.
Man, are your brains lighting up. Now let me do just a minute of categories here. I'm going to name a category and you tell me what's something somebody might have in a backpack. What's a boy's name?
John.
Name something in your freezer.
Meat.
What's a type of candy? What's an animal you find on the farm?
Cow.
Name someplace in Europe. Your brains are on fire because you wouldn't have normally been doing something like that. And some of you went, what? Europe? Hold on a minute. Canada? Wait. You had to think. And that's what we're trying to do.
And it can be anything new. So changing the pattern where you drive, learning a new recipe, learning a new language, anything new makes your brain happy, including, if I click with my left hand, which I am not ambidextrous, this makes my brain happier. And here we are finally at general health. And I have a Winnie the Pooh quote here because who doesn't love A.A. Milne? And it speaks to both socialization. Sometimes you have to leave your corner of the forest if you want to be with other people. And also the idea of having a support team, participating in preventative care with your healthcare providers, addressing, again, sight issues and hearing issues. Any of your senses that are not working properly, discuss this with your doctor or nurse practitioner.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
May is actually Mental Health Month. And we hate hearing that term mental health because and unfortunately, those of us who work in the field, words like depression and anxiety fall under the mental health umbrella. We're actually trying to get that changed to brain health. Doesn't that sound better? Because you tell me about your cardiac health all day. You'd probably tell me about all kinds of health issues you got going on. But let me start talking to you about depression or anything labeled mental health. That's somebody else. No, it isn't. It's every one of us. Do you know that now there's a direct link between lifelong untreated depression and dementia? It permanently changes the chemistry of the brain, but 80% of the time, depression can be cured. Cured! And 100% of the time, even in people who have treatment-resistant depression, we can get some relief. We can ease some of the symptoms 100% of the time, but there's a stigma because it falls under mental health. Scary. Yesterday I had a shirt on that said mental health matters. We have to talk about this. It is okay to take care of your mental health. You have to. And there's more to mental health than taking a pill. But if you have to take a pill, take it. But there's lots of things to mental health. Keep that in mind. More caregivers. We have spouses that are caregivers and adult children that are caregivers that die before the person with dementia. I speak at their funerals all the time. I've watched it happen with my own eyes because of the stress of being a caregiver. The numbers are unbelievable.
And again, to bring up sleep, if you have issues with snoring or sleep apnea, think about it. That is affecting how much oxygen is getting to your brain. This matters. So again, it's one of those things that we don't necessarily like to talk about, and we certainly don't like to think about. But talking about that with your doctor and having that sleep apnea addressed matters to your cognitive health. And here we are, finally at potential changes with aging. And notice that on this screen there are several things that say occasionally. So if we're occasionally misplacing our keys or entering a room and not remembering why we went in, these are things that we all do. But, or forgetting an appointment and then remembering. That and is important when it comes to that. Having conversations and then remembering. And Holly had something to add?
Yes, I mentioned earlier, actual memory loss is not a normal part of aging, but like she said, walking in the room, why did I come in here? That's fine. There are other things that cause memory loss. The word dementia is not a synonym for memory loss. The word dementia is 36 symptoms. 36. Now your loved one might not have all 36. They might have 2, 4, 5, or 30 of them. And nobody's dementia looks the same. Nobody's does. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've never seen anybody identical. And they might have the same disease. They might be the same age. It depends on what part of their brain is affected. But there are other things that cause memory loss. A person's thyroid being out of whack, a vitamin deficiency, malnutrition, dehydration, I'm too lonely, I'm depressed. It happened to some of us during the pandemic. I'm getting confused. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. And I'm really confused, but I don't have dementia. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. I hadn't talked to anybody in 6 days. There's other things that can cause memory loss that can be reversed. That's not dementia. That's why you always start at the primary care physician. Always start at primary care physician.
So with our talk concluding, we're coming to our little comparison chart here. Things we want to increase and things we might be vested in decreasing. If you add 4 to 5 healthy lifestyle choices, you can have between a 40 and 60% reduction in the likelihood of developing dementia. So again, leading you back to that position of power of what you do matters. How you eat, how much water you're willing to drink, even if you have to put it before or after your drink of choice. That's an easy way to sneak it in on yourself. The quality sleep, that social activity truly are pillars of brain health. So what might you consider choosing to work on or continue, since many of us have good things we're already doing and we can just build from? And if you want to steal my half a cup of berries every day as your new goal, you're welcome to it.
If I can jump in right here, it takes 28 to 30 days to make a habit or break a habit. 28 to 30 days of consistent. So if you started today with that half a cup of berries and do it every day for 28 to 30 days, it will become a habit just like brushing your teeth. You get up, you don't even think about it. I can't say, wait, I haven't had my berries. It really will become part of your day. On the other hand, you can stop a bad habit. I had to go through withdrawal from Diet Dr. Pepper. My name is Holly, and I had an addiction to Diet Dr. Pepper, and I had to come off of it. And you want to talk about a withdrawal? It really is. But I'm telling you, after about 4 weeks, now those first 2 were not good, but after about 4 weeks, I don't want it anymore. 28, 30 days. Pick something. It's a brand new month. We've got 28, 30 days left.
And we're to the end. Holly, did you have anything to conclude with?
There's my information. I am at the West Center. We do have a day program here in town. You notice I said day program, not daycare. Adults don't go to daycares. Adults go to day programs. We also are we've been here for 31 years, the James L. West Center for Dementia Care. That's all we do. We are a licensed nursing home, but I promise you we don't look like what you just saw in your head. Because some of you hear nursing home and go, oh no, come see us. We have an education department and we have a brand new rehabilitation. So if your loved one is at home, they ever fall, they need rehab, but they have dementia, they can come to us and then go back home with Medicare. So it's something brand new, because we saw a lot of people having to go to rehab and get non-compliant, out you go, because they have dementia. And it's not anything to do with the person with dementia, it's the therapists don't know how to work with them because they're not trained to work with people with dementia. So we just opened that. And I've got cards also. Thank you for your time.
And?
You have programs as well, don't you?
No. I mean, we have at the University of North, at the Health Science Center, which is just a few blocks up the street, we do have research and opportunities to participate in research, everything from the brain health program that I'm the health coach for, to the SAGE program, which my colleague Jane could make mention of, as well as support groups for dementia caregivers that are ongoing throughout the year. So, I thank you for your time, and since you've been such a willing audience, we will end sort of with the way we began, with our stop hands, and our go hands, and our stop hands, and our go hands, and our waving hands, pinky ring, middle pointer thumb, and our pinky ring, middle pointer thumb, and last one, pinky ring, middle pointer thumb. And since you've been sitting, if your legs are crossed, uncross your legs and put your feet firmly on the floor and wiggle across your bottom so that you get comfortable in your seat. And since I'm not very good at righting lefting with my mirror image of you, so we'll all do it together. We'll pat 3 times with our left toes. Toes, 2, 3, 4. Heel, 2, 3, 4. Toes, 2, 3, 4. And heel, 2, 3, 4. Switching sides to our right, same thing. Toes, 2, 3, 4. And heel, 2, 3, 4. Showing that movement matters.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I can't wait to hear what you've picked up, what questions you have now that you've been so great in holding on to your questions. We want to go ahead and take some time to do that. Let's go ahead and start out. Who has a question for one of our presenters, or both of them today? Yes.
On the sleeping talk, I believe I heard or saw 7 to 9 hours daily. Does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
have to be consistent or altogether time, or I do have sleep issues, and sometimes I sleep for 4 to 5 hours, and then I get up and I get a snack. Maybe that's wrong, and then I go and usually I turn on the TV because that makes me drowsy, and I am able to drift back off to sleep for maybe another 2 to 3 hours. What do you think about that?
Which leads you to what they're recommending, which is the 7 to 9 total.
But it
Instead of
doesn't have to be
instead of
consecutive.
cheating yourself and thinking I'm up and it doesn't matter, you find a way to lull yourself back to sleep. So I mean, you're actually practicing that what they would call really good sleep hygiene.
Okay, thanks.
Who else? Yes.
What's your opinion on plant-based diets as opposed to, like the cheeses, plant-based as opposed to dairy stuff?
So the question was,
Plant.
what's their thought about plant-based diets versus protein?
Yes.
Just so that we can all hear.
Yes.
Okay, the Mediterranean diet encompasses all foods in moderation, and that is the diet that has the most research, which is why they developed it to go along and combined it with the DASH diet into the MIND diet, but it does include all. That said, everyone's body is different, and so what works best for your body is different than what works for the person who's sitting next to you. So figuring out what best fuels you and possibly thinking of your food literally as fuel. How am I fueling my brain? How am I fueling my movement and my joints? Would be.
And I want you to also hear this as well, because I had a gentleman one time who came in with dementia. He had been a vegetarian. He grew all of his own food. If you could say he did something right, he could have put check marks by every bit of that. And his kids were so upset because dad had Alzheimer's, mom had lung cancer. The woman had never smoked anything in her life. And they both developed terminal illnesses. You saw the statistics. It did not say 100% of the time. Because I'll also have families say in support group, but Holly, I'm doing everything. Right, you are doing everything that we're talking about doing. Is that going to make it go away? Is that going to make it never happen? No. Is it going to make your journey a little easier? Probably so. Is it going to help your loved one? Absolutely. But as far as the plant-based, we're the same way whenever we talk about it. Everybody is very, very different. I work with someone that's a vegan. I'm afraid if I ate like her, I wouldn't be standing up here today because I'd be cold. Maybe I would. I don't know. I hadn't tried it. I do have my red meat, but I do try to not have it at the bottom of the pyramid. So there's, like she was saying, the majority of the research is on the Mediterranean-based diet. You're not going to find a whole lot of red meat, fish, chicken, those types of things. So.
I think that just kind of going along with that same comment that you made, you hear that Mediterranean or the DASH diet are the best ways to go, but then for a lot of us we think, well, that's nice, but where do I start? How do I find out what that is? What do I get rid of and what do I add? And I think that's the need. That would be the next step for us, is where do we get that information?
And that's where you do it a little bit at a time. You've got that information on the MIND diet. I am not going to say to you, tomorrow start the MIND diet 100%, because I'm setting you up for failure. Just like if I said, by the end of May, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. No, I'm not. But by the end of May, I might lose 5 or 7. That's a little more realistic. But what if I did say, I'm only going to have red meat twice a week? I could start with that. I'm going to add a fish or chicken. I'm going to add my berries. I'm going to pull back on white bread or processed foods or all that stuff in the can and the box that's so easy in my cabinet. Little steps, little steps. Don't set yourself up for failure.
I was going to ask, so you said 2/3 of the people affected are women.
What is the research behind that? Like, why does it affect women more than men?
Good question.
One of the reasons we know that we see women more than men, women live longer. Latest statistics on life expectancy in the United States, and I hate to tell you this because we keep dropping and dropping and dropping. New healthcare statistics come out in January and in August every year for healthcare. We are down to 75 for men and 80 for women in the United States. Before the pandemic, we were at 86 and 81. 86 for women and 81 for men, and we've continued to drop. We dropped again in January. I thought we were going to turn in January, but we haven't yet. So women do tend to live longer. There's an awful lot of research about hormones with women, but other than that, you name it, there's a research study going on it. Do you have anything else to add? For the most part, if you look anything up, it's women live longer, and there might be something related to hormones.
On the life expectancy, do they ever break it out? Because one of the things that we read, or I've read, says life expectancy has dropped because of violence, auto accidents, drug use, this kind of thing. Do they ever break it out so that those who aren't involved in that, what their life expectancies would be?
You can find it like that, but most of the time when you're looking at healthcare statistics, they do put everybody together, especially now because of, and I hate to even talk about things like this, I was a teacher for 20 years. We don't know when there's going to be the random shooting. It could be any of us. We don't know when we're going to be in the accident. I heard on the news this morning somebody drove by and how many kids were shot this morning. The oldest one was 19, a 3-year-old. So we are all kind of grouped in there because we don't know. Part of it also is the rising suicide rates in people over the age of 65. We hear about suicide, and most of the time we think young people, and that's not the case. It's people over the age of 65 an awful lot of the time, especially people over the age of 65 that have just received a terminal diagnosis or their loved one has received a terminal diagnosis. That's why we are out there talking about mental health matters. We've got to talk about these things.
I got a mom's cousin, it's a family of 4. Every time I went home to Clifton in Central Texas, I'd go see her. She was 105 years old, still playing dominoes, and her name was Pearl. I said, Pearl, I put my arm around her, I'm gonna outlive you. I'm gonna live to be 110. Okay. But she lived to be 105. Her mother lived to be 105. Her brother lived to be 106. And the dad lived to be 106. 206 and 205 in one family. I said, what is your key to long living? Every time I would put my arm around her, she would point to me. Number one is have God in your heart. Number 2, stress. Get rid of all your stress in your body. Stress is killing everybody in this country, and it's going to kill more. And that's what I, also when I had open heart surgery, I'm 78. I'm on my goal is 110. That's what I had to ride at Harris Hospital every morning.
Good for you.
So at the time I was 75, and I'm gonna live to be 110.
All right.
And what was one of the things that Miss Pearl said that we all can make a choice to do or not do? Well, and also she was playing dominoes, and you know what you don't play by yourself? Is dominoes.
And dominoes is one of those you've got to think, 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 think.
Especially if you're playing with somebody who's been playing it for 100 years.
You better be thinking you don't get beat.
Something else too, sometimes I feel like we don't give ourselves permission to rest and do things that we need to do.
So I mentioned earlier, we have a day program. I will get families go, well, what am I going to do? Go home and go to bed is what you're going to do. Do you know how many aisles are at Walmart? When was the last time you walked up and down every one of them? Because caregivers tend to run in and run out. And I'll have them come back to me and go, Holly, you're right. There's lots of aisles. It took me 3 hours to get there. Go do something for yourself. When was the last time you did take care of yourself? But there's that guilt. So here's what I say about guilt. If you've got guilt hanging over your head, you didn't know what you didn't know. Quit beating yourself up about it. Replace guilt with grace. Do better. You did not know what you did not know. You can't go to the woulda, coulda, shouldas. That's the past. You know what the past is? Depression. You know what the future is? What if? But what if? What if? What if? Anxiety. There's anxiety. And who's doing it to us?
And the magic word you said is permission. And we're in a room full of adults, which seems like an odd thing to think. But one of the most powerful events I ever went to, that I had paid to go to, and it was a ladies' retreat, and every other woman had paid to be there. And the most powerful thing that the coordinator did was she said, you folks are tired. You've driven all this way, because we're all front and center ready to do because we've paid to be here. And she says, y'all have permission to take a nap, to take a walk, to go color, to have a cup of tea. And so sometimes that experience for me has led me to use that word permission so that I question, what am I not giving myself permission to do that seems like you shouldn't have to, and yet that's sitting down and having a hot cup of tea, especially if you're being a caregiver, because sometimes you have to work around someone else's schedule. And so literally the time you have, because it's so easy to get trapped into doing the thing that you couldn't do because people were up, when really what you need to do is have a sit down, maybe watch some mindless TV.
Yes. Laughter.
And especially something that you've seen 900 times that always makes you laugh. The stumbling scene of somebody coming in where it always hits the button. So again, thank you for your time. Was that all the questions?
Just a statement. I'm Amy, I'm in hospice, and we tell our families that we work with that oftentimes if you've flown on an airplane and they say, if the cabin loses pressure, the oxygen masks will deploy. First, put the oxygen mask on yourself, then you can help somebody else. And that's what we tell our families as well, that when you're dealing with someone with dementia, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you are available to help them. Sometimes we got to take care of us first before we can do that. So I just encourage you, what they've shared is really important. Thank you.
Yes.
You mentioned the video library.
Yes, ma'am.
How is that accessed?
The cards.
Repeat the question.
Oh, she asked about a video library, and although there are many online, the one I had mentioned was actually the relaxation room at the University of North Texas, UNT, HSC. I have flyers over there that you can pick one up so that you can have access to that, and there's actually a flyer in your packet that has that information also that will link you to those services. Yes, ma'am.
For more videos also, if you go to YouTube and you type in our full name, James L. West Center for Dementia Care, we've got dozens of videos also. We partner with UNT Health Science Center. Our medical director, who's been our medical director for 31 years, you heard me say we've been open 31 years, same medical director, 31 years, is at UNT Health Science Center. So we are good partners. We have another. Did you have a question back there? I thought you had your hand up. Red ticket. Oh, red ticket. Okay.
I did think of one more question, getting back to those brain games. Is it okay to do them on your phone? I preferably like I'm still old fashioned. I like the paper little books that I can buy at the dollar store. I mean, very cheaply, of the word searches or crossword puzzles, or even some that you can get some markers and paint a picture. You know, the picture's already there. All you just fill in the squares or circles or whatever. Is one better than the other, or?
Just do something.
The one you will do is the one that is best.
That's exactly right. And try to incorporate some play. We are calling it, instead of making New Year's resolutions this year at the West Center, we made, let's pick one word, and we chose the word play. Because when was the last time we went out and we played? My director of nurses right now, she's my age, she took roller skating back up. I told her I'd be breaking a hip. There's no way I'm roller skating. But it was something she used to do that she loved. I'm coloring again. Oh, I love to color. I'm listening to the music from when I was a teenager. Play. Find a way to play. You had your hand up.
I was just gonna say, it's probably good to mix it up with a little bit of the paperback version versus the, online version, because it probably lights up different parts, right?
It does.
Yes, ma'am.
Dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss, 3 separate things.
So dementia is an umbrella term, just like cancer, umbrella term. Somebody says my loved one's been diagnosed with cancer, what would be your first question? What kind, what type, what form? Dementia, what kind, what type, what form? If we look at the umbrella, 60 to 80% of that umbrella is Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease is the most common type, form, cause of dementia. Memory loss is a symptom. As is personality changes, not taking care of hygiene, language changes, starting to use words they never used before because those store on the side of the brain that remains. Forgetting words I used all the time because that side of the brain is leaving. All of these, like I said, there's 36 common symptoms. There's a whole lot more than memory loss. And those of you who are living it know it now. Maybe you didn't know it before, but you gain a skill set you never wanted when somebody in your life has dementia. But boy, can you learn how to use it.
So just what you said for me, I've always thought there was one or the other. People will say, well, is it dementia or is it Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia, but all dementias are not Alzheimer's. Because you can have Lewy body dementia, you can have vascular dementia, you can have frontotemporal dementia, which has its own umbrella. You can have Parkinson's disease dementia, you can have alcohol-induced dementia, you can have all kinds of dementias. We see about 8 of them over and over and over and over. People with Huntington's disease that can turn into dementia. People with ALS, even MS now falls under the dementia umbrella.
One more. If there was an early diagnosis, probably those cookies back there. If there was an early diagnosis, is there medication?
There's not medications to stop it. Now you'll hear things called memory meds. What we're doing is we're treating symptoms. Those are symptom meds. The most common ones we hear of are Aricept, Namenda, Exelon, those type meds. We are treating symptoms. Our goal is to plateau and ride those plateaus as long as we can. There's going to be normal progression because this is a progressive terminal illness. It is a progressive terminal illness. Many times when someone moves in, I'm the first person who's ever said progressive terminal or hospice to them. They've never heard it. Doctor never mentioned it. Dementia, all dementias, progressive and terminal, will eventually be on hospice. The meds are treating symptoms. They'll go into a natural progression or something can throw them into a progression. A UTI, COVID, the flu, pneumonia, bad news, a big fall, God forbid, general anesthesia. General anesthesia accelerates dementia to the next level every time. It's horrible on our brains, be careful. General anesthesia accelerates dementia to the next level. We all need to be really careful with general anesthesia. It's like throwing gas on a fire. I had a knee replacement. I told the doctor I wanted him to do it with a femoral block and twilight. And he said, I got a video for you to watch. I use power tools. I watched that video and said, use general anesthesia. He did use it. I was completely awake until he was standing over me. I can still remember him walking in and looking at me. I was awake. They had done the block, and then I woke up in the room. So they used the least amount of general anesthesia possible. But you've got to go in and be a voice for that and for your loved one, because you know what's easier on the staff at the hospital? Knock you out.
You said there's 36 symptoms?
Okay, there's about 36 common symptoms to dementia, yes. Memory loss is number 1. And no, I cannot list all 36 of them. But if you'll email me, I'll send you a list. I've got a card.
Where do I start to know if I'm a candidate for dementia? Primary care?
Primary care physician. Always start at primary care and go in with a list of your symptoms. Be honest.
Can it be inherited?
Yes, it can. And depending on what type it is, Alzheimer's disease, about 30%.
What about prevention? You see that on TV every minute of
I
every
know.
day.
They're selling it to you. So for somebody to get a commercial, it has to work at 19% of the people that they tested. So if I go out and I do me something and 19% of the people say, yes, it worked, then I could sell you something too. Does it work? 19% of the time it does. Am I going to take a chance on it? Maybe.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.